We got a new patch and we got another one marked off the list to find out what's going on, as I hereby invite everyone to join me on my adventures through Marvel Snap. Hey everybody, it's Annabelle. So we got a brand new patch that just came out today. All this is currently live in the game. Yay! Alright, so first let's talk about one that we never thought was going to come around. Angel has been changed from a 1-2 to a 2-3. Everything else stays exactly the same. Now, while this isn't a big, huge, gigantic buff to the game, I'm not even sure if it will make Angel C play at all. I honestly had a version of Angel where you just made him like a 4 or 5 and kept the same ability, where if you got him down, if you destroyed something early game, you kind of get that cheat of him coming down, even from your hand. It at least shows that Second Dinner is taking more chunks off their old standard of we're not going to charge early game cards, we're not going to worry about early game interactions, we're going to be this card. So it is nice that this is changing. Not sure this is going to be the big change that this needed to have happen. Again, I honestly think this could be a 4 or 5 and it would still basically be decently good. And that's where it kind of needs to be. If this was just a 4 or 5 actual card, you get down a 1 on turn 1, you play a Carnage or something on turn 2, and then you get a 4 or 5, and that seems decent. That's basically kind of doing a Bucky Barnes. Alright, next up on our patch list for our buffs, we are going to move on to Thanos. Thanos had an itty bitty teeny tiny itty bitty patch buff. Mind Stone got changed back to a 1-1. Ever since Thanos now starts in your hand, we all thought this wasn't what's going to happen. This has always been the engine for the Thanos. It's kind of nice that they changed it back and it is still Stone, so I think everybody kind of saw that one coming. So we talked about Angel, we talked about the mindset of Thanos. Next buff that we have is for Lady Deathstrike. Lady Deathstrike got 1 more power. She went from a 5-6 to a 5-7. Everything still stays the same. She's still going to destroy stuff with 3 or less power. Gonna see more play. She almost was on the edge of seeing play where she was. Weird change, again, one that I don't think anybody saw on its list. Man-Thing. Man-Thing went from a 4-5 to a 4-7. It's always weird when something gets 2 power, because the game actually is balanced enough where that is significant. There's so many cards that you wouldn't think are balanced by 1 energy or 1 power, but for some reason, Man-Thing never really kicked in. But Captain America, U.S. Agent, I should say, somehow did. They're the back forth of each other. But it seems like Man-Thing never really came around, and U.S. Agent kind of made something of himself. Interesting to see this 4-7 creep up more and more often. The problem is that it's starting to become this whole thing of 3 5s and now 4-7 seems to be the new stat line for a lot of things. And if you move the stat line up for everything, then you go back to the point of okay, now this card's not good. Not sure this is going to make Man-Thing any better or worse. Just the interesting part of it. Now, let's move on to the nerfs. First off, the big, the bad, the Arishem. That's right, this card finally got hit with the nerf bat. This has been the assassin of Marvel Snap. This took down so many cards. This took down Blob. This took down Doc Ock. This was a card that has just been in the game, and because of everything that's happened, because of how many cards it's been taking down as the assassin, it's really kind of not had the impact that it used to have. Now, two things about this that we have to talk about. First of all, Arishem's always going to be a problem. He's going to have the same problem that Zabu had, where it limits design space. Now the problem is that every single card that Marvel Snap makes, as long as Arishem's in the game and has this ability of you get +1 extra energy at the start of the game, it's going to have this little asterisk on it. So every 3-cost card is a 2-cost card in Arishem. And the other thing is, with how they've changed Loki now, you could care less how many cards are in your deck. If you see Loki in your opening hand, you basically snap and you giggle. I mean, adding this to go up to 15 cards from 12 is a big thing. I'm not sure that's going to take Arishem down. That's the problem. When I originally thought of Arishem, I originally thought that he would be a 1-star card because I thought the RNG would just be too much for this. That you would commonly get stuff like Zabu and Baku and Watcher. The more and more times I've played this and played against this and just seen this running around, it seems like even a bad card is good in Arishem. Even something like Adam Warlock. All of a sudden, at 4, 4, 4, 5, Adam Warlock seems great. And that just kind of, again, shows how good the balance in Marvel Snap is. Where a +1 energy takes a card. Getting a card out 1 turn sooner takes a card from being trash tier to being a key card in your deck going forward. Alright, weird one. Cassandra Nova got her point knocked off of her. I kind of feel bad about this one, only because of two different things. First of all, I wasn't seeing a ton of Cassandra Nova. Secondly, other than against Arishem, she's really not that powerful. And mostly because of the fact that this was the free card, I was hoping they would leave this one alone for at least some time. Give us some time to cook. It's weird that she's going down. It's still not a bad card. It's a 3/6 on a good day. That's not the end of the world, but it's for the people who went through Deadpool Steiner and didn't like Deadpool Steiner, but did it because they wanted the Cassandra Nova because they thought it was going to be a good card going forward. Just to have that 1 point shaved off feels like a real kick in the teeth to a certain degree. I understand that Second General needs to change stuff to make the game better, but it almost feels like this card could have been looked at down the road. Next up on the Nerf list is Thena. Thena got her 1 point of power taken off of her. Thena just seems to be an unstoppable card. I'm sorry. That 2 cards per turn does not seem to take her down in any way, shape, or form. She's going toe-to-toe with some of the biggest heavy hitters out there. The decks that are generating 10 mana, 12 mana on turn 6, Thena's still putting up the same power points that they are. I don't think the 1 point of power is going to hurt her, per se. Next up, we've got Sandman. Sandman has made a resurgence. It seems that like every single time that Sandman gets a little bit of play, that people are like, ooh, Sandman, let's play that. That seems like a good card. He's every second time goes, no, Sandman, you can sit down. This is just like something weird about Sandman. Like, it seems like every time that dial hits a certain threshold, Second Dinner is just like, no, we have to do something about Sandman. I really don't think Sandman's been a problem. I really don't think the 1 point of power is going to stop anybody from playing him who was playing him. It was never about the stats with Sandman. It was about doing the trick where your opponent couldn't play multiple cards on the last turn. It will probably take a backseat for a while because for some reason every time a card gets nerfed, it kind of takes a backseat, and I don't know why. And it kind of seems like that's second generous barometer where they look at it and they go, okay, Sandman's doing good, the game's doing bad. Last up on the Nerf list is going to be Nocturne. Nocturne got a point shaved off of her. It was just too powerful. The 3/5 was just too powerful. It's kind of funny because Nocturne had the best character concept for how the card used to work. It was a combination of Nightcrawler and Scarlet Witch. So it had the same power as Nightcrawler and Scarlet Witch put together, so the same cost as Nightcrawler and Scarlet Witch put together, and it kind of did the same thing as Nightcrawler and Scarlet Witch put together. 3/5 that can just move anywhere is too powerful. And any self-moving card always has to be looked at. You've got the Nightcrawler, you've got the Jeff, you've got the Nocturne. You have nothing on 4, but then I believe on 5 is when you hit the Vision. So I honestly think if Nocturne just hit once, it could get that power back, and I don't think that would kill the card. But it's just doing too much for too much. It's changing the location. It can get into locations that, like, nothing else can. It can get into the Sanctum Sanctorums. It can get into the Death's Domains. It can get into Bards with No Names. It's the only card that can do that. Why in the universe would you ever play Rhino when you can play Nocturne? So those are all the nerfs and buffs. 5 nerfs, 4 buffs, and a partridge in a pear tree. Anyways, I want to thank you all so much for watching, and as always, remember, play for fun.